In this video, we're refreshing another one of our most popular bubble tutorials, which is selecting items from a list. Single select, multi-select, if you need to select all or deselect, we're going to take you through it. We're going to show you in Bubble's latest interface. We've got an improved approach to all of these interactions here for working with the list. It's a really common piece of functionality anytime you have search results or you're working with a table design. Okay, let's jump in. Okay, so let's take a look at the functionality that we're going to be working with. I have 10 users in my database here, in my sample database, and I've displayed things in a repeating group where I'm only going to see 4 users at a time, 4 users per page. So here are the first 4 on page 1. Page 2 is going to have the next 4, and then page 3 will have the final 2, right? A total of 10. So there are a few ways that we can select users from this list. I can go individually, right? So one user at a time. I can go to the next page and it's still going to remember how many users in total I've selected. We can see this count is increasing here. Okay, I can also go into this menu that I've created where I can select all the users on the page that I'm looking at now. So the 4 users here, right? So if I click on this, it's going to include Monica. Let's say I deselect, right? Just to show you that one more time, select 4 users on this page. It'll automatically select all of those items. Or I can choose all of the users from my entire repeating group list, so all 10 users. So click on this here and we'll see that everyone is selected. And then my final item here is I can deselect all in one click so that I don't have to go through page by page if I wanted to reset everything. So select all, right, deselect. And you'll notice that the icon up at the top here also changes based on how many selections I have. If I have a couple of selections, but it isn't the full list, then we're going to see this icon change to this kind of minus symbol, sort of a middle ground between fully unchecked or all selected. But then if I select all, then it's going to show me a green check mark to show me, okay, there's no more items to select from here. And then if I deselect, you'll see that open checkbox. Okay, so this is the functionality that we're going to be working through. Obviously, a few different scenarios to make sure that they all work with each other and we don't run into any conflicting workflows. Okay, so in the design, I have my primary repeating group. You'll see that I have fixed this to a number of 4 rows, and that's just my example here. You know, your design may have a different number of rows. You also may not have a paging system. That's okay. Really just kind of going through a few different possible options that you might have for selection. The real piece of logic that we want to look at is how we manage the selected items. All right. So again, I have 4 rows fixed in this repeating group. I've got my next and previous buttons. These 2 buttons are triggering workflows to simply show the previous page or show the next page. Pretty straightforward with those items there. Okay, and then this text in the middle is going to display the repeating group's page number, which is a built-in state for the repeating group. All right, now inside of the cell, I have some identifying information for my item. In this case, you know, this is a list of users. I'm just doing an open search, no constraints or anything. So I have an image to show the user's profile picture and then a text to display the user's email address. Now I am choosing to go with an icon to display my checkbox. I'm not actually using Bubble's built-in checkbox input element. So this one right here, I'm not using that. I find that I have a lot more flexibility in terms of interactivity as well as design when I go with an icon. So I can change the color, the sizing. It gives me more control over how it looks. So by default, this is going to be an open checkbox. And in the condition, we're going to change it to a checked checkbox with a color change here if we can see that this, this row's user has been selected. So let's start with the functionality for just individual user selection and deselection. When I click on this checkbox, I'm going to be updating a custom state. Okay, so I have the state on my primary group here, my outer group called group main, and I have a state here called selected users, which is a list of users. This is going to help me keep track of who I've selected. This way I can display the number, I can know, whether I've selected all of them or a partial number from the whole list. Okay, so going over to the condition here for this checkbox, if group main's selected users, that's the list of selected items, contains the parent group's user, right, contains this cell's user in the repeating group, then we know that we can change the icon to a checked box and change the color. Right? If the custom state contains this user, then we know that they're selected. So updating that state is with 2 workflows off of this individual checkbox here. All right, so I've got this organized in a folder called individual select, one for selecting, one for deselecting. So for selecting, when the checkbox is checked, or sorry, when the checkbox is clicked, And only when the custom state doesn't currently contain the parent group's user, that means that we want to add the user to that custom state list. So I'm setting the state, group mains selected user, and here I'm adding it. Group mains selected users, right? Whatever the existing list is, plus item, the parent group's user. This plus item, you'll have that operation when you are working off of a list, right? You'll see here that we're going to use minus item with our reversal, right, for deselecting. So group mains selected user so that we have the existing list, and then we're going to add on to that existing list with one new user, one single user here, okay? So the deselect, it's the opposite condition. If the custom state group main selected user already contains the parent group's user, right, then that means clicking on this checkbox is we're wanting to remove them. So updating the same state, again, we take the existing list because we don't want to remove other ones. We want to make sure that those stay there. And then we're going to subtract out the parent group's user using minus item. Okay, so it's just toggling back and forth. It's the same icon with different conditions at the event level, right, when the checkbox is clicked, or the icon is clicked, I should say, so that only one of these workflows ever runs at a time. We don't want them both running at the same time because then nothing will actually change. Okay, and that's how we get this particular functionality here, check and uncheck. In fact, if you check and then use your debugger, let's go to the inspector here and go to our group where our custom state is. You can see there a selected user. There is my one user, Rachel, that I've chosen. Okay, I also have this text up here to reference the same custom state, group main selected user, and then I'm just counting up the number of items in that list so that the user has a visual as well of how many they've selected. Okay, so that's in this text here to help the user stay oriented. Okay, real quick here. If you're finding this helpful, we have so much more to teach you in our free extended workshop over at coachingnocodeapps.com/workshop, where we'll guide you through our four-phased approach for going from idea to app. So if you're looking for a start to finish guide, go ahead and register for it when you're done with this video and you'll get immediate access to the training. I've got the link in the description below and on the screen right now. For now, let's head back to our lesson. So now let's look at our multi-select options here. So what I've done with this particular design, and of course you don't have to design it this exact same way, but when the user clicks on this icon, I'm actually showing a group focus element that gives me these three options. It's more just to kind of keep the design cleaner so they're not always seeing those there. This indicates, you can select all, and then when they click on it, they can see that they have more granular options from here. So all this icon up at the top is doing, this is outside of the repeating group, this is going to show that group focus. That group focus is attached to that icon. Okay, that's all that this is doing. So I have my three possible options here. I can select all the users at the page level, I can select all the users from the entire list, or I can deselect all. Okay, so let's go through kind of the easier ones. So selecting all, okay, so that is this button right here, select all 10 users. This is going to, again, update the state, and we're just changing the value to the repeating group's full list of users. That's it. Doesn't matter what was previously there or if it was an empty value. We're just going to overwrite with the repeating group's full list of users. And I'm also going to go ahead and hide the group focus so that, it goes away as soon as I make that selection. It's a convenience interaction there for the user. Now, deselecting is the opposite. We're simply going to clear the value, right? We don't want anyone selected anymore, so we just leave this blank. Okay, and then again, we're going to hide the group focus. Now, selecting the page is a little trickier because we need to identify which users are on the page that we're currently looking at. So you can see this expression has a little bit more to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have to basically identify, let me go to, let's say, page 2 here. I need to identify Phoebe, Chandler, guest, and admin out of the full list of users. Right? So Phoebe technically is item number 5 in the entire list of 10, right? So we have on page 1, 2, 3, 4, go to the next page, this is item number 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to identify items 5 through 8 if this is the page that I'm currently looking at, okay? So I'm going to go to the repeating groups list of users, and I'm going to say items from, and I'm going to insert the number. We're going to calculate and find the number that we're on for the first item in the page that we're looking at. Okay, I'm going to show you this in a second here, but items from whatever that first item on the page is until 4 items in. Okay, I'm typing in a number 4 kind of as a static number because I know that I've designed my repeating group as a fixed 4-row design, right? I fix it to 4 rows. It's not a dynamic repeating group. So here, right, I set that to 4. So I know that once I identify the first item on the page that I'm on, I only want from there to the 4th item moving forward. Okay, and then we're going to combine it. We're going to merge it with whichever items have already been selected. Again, we don't want to overwrite. We want to combine it. So if I have, 2 selected from page 2, and then I want to select everybody on page 3, here, select 2 users on this page, now I have 4 total. Okay, so I want to take these 2 users and combine it with the previous 2 selections. So that's what this expression is doing here. Now, the items from, this is what I'm doing. I'm using an arbitrary text expression so that I can calculate the first item on the page that I'm on. Okay, so my calculation is the repeating group's current page number. Okay, so let's say that this is page 2, all right, times 4, because I have 4 rows, so that's going to give me 8 if I'm on page 2, minus 3. Okay, so now that's going to give me 5, right? Page number 2 times 4 gives me 8, minus 3 is 5. That's going to take me to item number 5 here in my overall repeating group. Okay, a little bit of math to calculate that. And so once we have items from 5 until 4, we're going to get items 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those are the 4 people on this page that I'm selecting. Okay, I know that one's a little tricky, a little maze-like for that particular expression, but this way we can create really a much more useful feature for the user so that they don't necessarily have to do an all or nothing selection. And we can still allow them to go more quickly page by page, when they're choosing things from the list. Okay, so those are all of the workflows: selecting an individual user, deselecting an individual user, selecting all, deselecting all, and then selecting the one page that you're on. And then from there, anything you want to display in the design, you can use those same expressions to kind of help the user understand. So for example, selecting all and then the count, I'm just referencing the repeating group's entire list and then counting that up, right? Select all 10 users. And then for the page, I have that exact same expression that we used in the workflow to show how many items are on the single page. Now you would think that I can just type in a static 4 here, but in some cases you may have a partial page, right? In my case, on page 3, I only have 2 users. So I don't want to always assume that there's always 4 people on every page. For, most pages it will be that, but on the last page, if you don't have an even number for your repeating group, I want to make sure that that's an accurate count. So that's why I'm using the dynamic expression to give me the items from the first item on the page until 4, and then just count up how many actual items this returns. And there you have it. That's how you can manipulate your list with selections, give your users a few more options so that things are more convenient, and give you the design control you want to have a better experience, a more modern experience overall. All right, I hope that was helpful. We've got more great lessons coming up for you on the next screen, and don't forget to register for that free extended workshop. The link for that is in the description below.